Bugs Bunny, Wascally Wabbit. So, this obviously brings us to our good old friend Bugs Bunny, BNG words. That Wascally Wabbit. Freemason elitists understand that if they use the words, symbols, colors, and the rituals associated with these, that they will unlock the power within. Therefore, operating from deep within this trance-induced mindset, they go about the Luciferian agenda business, working the Kabbalistic secrets into our illusory daily lives, making our connection to wisdom all but a memory. One perfect example of this comes to us, courtesy of Freemason Jack Warner, a Jewish immigrant from Poland, who settled in Ontario with his parents and 4 brothers in the early 1900s before moving to the USA. Jack was the youngest of the brothers, who eventually put together Warner Brothers Studios, that today is a subsidiary of Time Warner. Time Warner equals emit war, and water, create chaos. These brothers were the first to include sound clips with feature-length silent movies. What they are truly famous for is the cartoon character Bugs Bunny. Once again, the slippery Luciferian mind invents a whole new tool to indoctrinate the illusory minds of children, to conform to the desired reality they need to be established for their agenda to succeed. First off, their last name was not Warner, but Wanscalaser. They incorporated their name and logo with the WB for Warner Brothers. However, all is not as it seems. Surprise! The WB is on a shield, a symbol of Orion, and a symbol of the Jewish Rothschild family. Rothschild equals Red Shield. The WB stands for Wanabozho, which is a form of Nanabozho, the creator god of the native North American Indians. Wanabozho, in actual Lakota dialect, is pronounced Waboose, from which we obtain the English word rabbit. The rabbit was in turn the symbol associated with Nanabozho, who was a trickster god. Warner Brothers Studios adopted this WB, the symbolic name of god Waboose, and along with it, created an animated cartoon character called Bugs Bunny, who represents symbolically the spirit of tricking and causing endless troubles. The hypnotic suggestion established with this character Bugs Bunny, a BNG word, was that of war. If anyone has any bewilderment why the United States of America is so thirsty for war at every turn, check out the way the children were brought up and programmed for all their childhood years. Take a look at the mindless subliminals that were pumped into the innocent receiving crystals, coupled with the endless suggestion of the American dream, and there's no other possible outcome than to have a population completely obsessed with killing, conquest and war. In a great part attributed to Jack Warner, Freemasonic lunacy, and the Wascally Wabbit we call Bugs Bunny. The name Warner equals war, Water Brothers equals royal sacrifice water. Together these names alone imply war, death, and some sort of royal divine flood. Coupled with the repetitious suggestions incorporated into the accent, slogans, and symbolism associated with that of Bugs Bunny, and a young audience is totally defenseless against the mind control techniques of the Luciferian thinkers, whose only desire is to create an illusion, first, of the person themselves, in their 3D form, and then to use the mind within that 3D form, to separate us from our eternal state of wisdom through endless distractions. Warner Brothers 1. Of course you realize this means war. One of Bugs Bunny's famous lines was of course you realize this means war. Really? What sort of wholesome, beneficial suggestion is that supposed to implant within a young mind? Of course, you realize, this took place in the 1940s, and America was just about to enter into World War II. Through the encouragement of Bugs Bunny in the background, the young men and women were seduced, hypnotically, to agree with the very idea of going to war, even glamorizing the whole charade. However, the ultimate intent of this hypnotic indoctrination by the rabbit god was to prepare a baby-booming generation after the war, who would grow up with the subliminal implanted deep within their illusory minds, that they are Americans, and they are God's people, and they have a dream, and let's go kill anyone, and destroy anything that should stand in the way of this holy mission, of course, not realizing for a moment that their god is a rabbit, their dream is a trance, and their faith relates to a rabbit's foot and a fish's tail. In the cartoon Victory Through Hair Power, the message suggested is that victory for God's people comes through the hair, or the rabbit. The word hair equals Ra equals Raw equals war. Likewise, war equals water, and the ultimate desire of the Luciferian agenda will be to wage war upon the American population, and throughout the world, with water. This is meant to be accomplished through the global warming flood hypnotic suggestion. The mind preparation to believe this lunacy and to hypnotically create this reality went into serious mode with the character of Bugs Bunny, the God of America. Another slogan that Bugs Bunny is famous for, "What's up, Doc?" is spoken sarcastically as he chews on a carrot. Innocent enough, it would seem. However, close your eyes, and say these words slowly, and they sound close to what's our dog. Yet again, what are dog? Or water dog? This little subliminal suggests water, and a dock, and what you find in the water at the dock are fish. The word dock equals cod in reverse, and is the shape of the Mecca mosque shown on page 33, where the Muslim people parade around in the belly of this fish, fulfilling the fifth pillar of the Hajj ritual. This is exactly what Christians do by worshipping Jesus with their fish symbol. It also harkens to Jonah in the belly of the fish story, who is a type of Messiah, who is resurrected out of the belly of death. Mecca equals Mesa equals Messiah, the Messiah is a fish god. Carrot equals sea water. Yet another famous line from Bugs was the sarcastic phrase in the cartoon Frigid Hair, 1949, where he tunneled to Antarctica. Should have taken a left turn at Albuquerque. Once again, we have a subliminal implanted with the South Pole, the Arctic Hare, and the polar ice caps. Bugs is asking for directions to Albuquerque, one of the four corners cross states, and highly symbolic when pronounced as Al, as in LA, be sacrifice, and Koiki, or Koi's key, or killing water key. Also, a koi is another type of fish. The word kois is that used in the name Iroquois, mentioned above. Spelled out in its normal fashion, with the subliminal translation, Albuquerque equals Al Los Angeles, Alibu sacrifice you killing water key. Nanabos Ho, the rabbit god, was the father god, the rabbi sacrifice god. He was a trickster god, mentioned in various ways throughout most of the world, throughout many mythological god stories, for many centuries. This is the double-cross god, the god of the children of Abraham. The god of the Islamic Christian Jewish octagon of control. In yet another cartoon, Bugs tunnels to, tunneling should be associated with the Well of Souls, what he thinks is, Labrador Pits in Los Angeles. He ends up in Scotland, home of Roslin Chapel and the holiest site to the Freemason Brotherhood. Bugs makes the statement. There is no Labrador Pits in Scotland. What we have here, is the Scottish rolling a sound. Simple enough, but you've got to ask yourself why? What's really being said here, from a subliminal perspective, is water's rolling, no LA, water bearing, water pits Cortland. In the chart immediately below, the God of America, and the God of the New World, is settled between the B and G pillars of Hebrew Islamic Christian Freemasonry. In the middle is the pillar of Sisyphus, named U. This is the symbolism for the name Bugs Bunny. Although the co-director of this character was a fellow named Bugs Hardaway, or Joseph Benjamin Hardaway, a J&B name, there's always a cover story to hide the Luciferian agenda from being uncovered. Joseph Benjamin was referred to sometimes as J.B. Hardaway and was co-director of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. As a bit of a side note here, Canada is the large upper room for preparing the marriage supper of the Lamb. Or more specifically, preparing the water for the marriage supper. For those unfamiliar with the new Canadian coins, the $1 coin is a loonie, and our new $2 coin is a toonie. The water for the global warming flood is being prepared in the large upper room of Canada, and this is the symbolic subliminal implant that has prepared this in our illusory reality. Merry Melodies is a reference to the Mary Sea, the marriage sea, at the Last Supper, the marriage supper of the Lamb, being prepared as well, in the Canadian Arctic. Just as the World Trade Center attack was placed on the USA money bills of 2001, the Canadian coins have this message attached as well. The original voice of Bugs Bunny was Mel Blanc equals Mother L. White. Bugs' next voice was that of Jeff Bergman, BMG. Greg Burson, BMG, was another Bugs voice in 1955. Billy West, B-Name and the word West which refers to the name Father God Ebanishimog, was another. Joe Alaski, J-Name and the name of the Alexa Mosque and the Mother's Milk of God, was another. Here's a quote from Native American myths of creation. In the beginning was only Tepe and Gyukumas, feathered serpent. These two sat together and thought, and whatever they thought came into being. They thought earth, and there it was. This is precisely the way the Hebrew, Christian Bible states that God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:3 God said let there be a light. In other words God thought a word, that word was his Son, and by him, his Son, the Word, were all things made. This is no different than the ancient Egyptian god El, Allah, who created Thoth, thought, who created Adam, who was considered the finisher god. When the North American native myths are compared with those of Babylon, Egypt, and Greece, right up to our present illusory time, there is no difference whatsoever. Now consider some of the activities associated with the Native American people, and the subliminals attached to these activities and how they relate to this moment in the Luciferian agenda. The whole Luciferian thought process is obsessed with the marriage supper of the Lamb. The Navajo Indians of northeast Arizona, southeast Utah, and northwest New Mexico refer to themselves as the Dine, which literally means the people. The marriage supper, the dinner of God, has been symbolized on this site as the sacrifice of great portions of humanity to the Luciferian egregor. The cartoon character Elmer Fudd, one of Bugs' business associates, is symbolic of this notion. Elmer Fudd equals Elmer Food equals LA Seafood equals Los Angeles Seafood. Bugs Bunny is Nanabuzo. Bugs is God. Elmer Fudd was always hunting bugs. This is the story associated with Orion, the great hunter, with his dog Sirius, who were hunting hares. Elmer Fudd tended to get the worst end of the deal hunting bugs, and so it was with Orion, who was killed. We, as this illusory form of humanity, relate to Elmer Fudd, and we are the Ions of Orion. Humanity is the matter, or the sacrifice, the food for the supper table to be dined upon. Penis